So in the interest of time, what I have here is my front page with all of the equations with the slopes listed first and as either fractions or improper fractions and the y-intercept listed second. And if we graph those, what we would get is something that looks like this. So for example, country A is a solid line, and it is y is less than or equal to negative 3 halves x plus 500, 500 being the intercept, going down 3, right 2. Second is country B, which is y is less than or equal to negative 1/4 x plus 300. Country C, which is down here, this one is y is greater than negative 2/3. It has a decreasing slope, but you'll notice that the shading is up, plus 180, intercept of about 180 there. Next is D, which is a very steep line. D is y is greater than negative 5 halves x plus 450, so higher intercept, but much steeper. E is this vertical line, and it shouldn't be surprising because the vertical line was x is less than 250, and it's vertical because it's crossing the x-axis. And then the special assignment one was x is greater than or equal to 100. So first of all, we know everything has to fit between those two vertical lines, right? So we've got special assignment and we've got country E. Everything has to be in between those two. Those are two cutoffs that are very quick and easy to find. Everything else has to stay within that boundary, either above or below each of the boundary lines. So the question that we have first here on 989, as a member of the United Nations, you must consider each of the following proposals. In each case, assume the United Nations would like to receive as many emergency supplies as possible while still having each nation give equally. One proposal is that each country gives 185 medicine packages. How many food packages should the United Nations require from each country in this case? And the thing that's really important is they want everyone to be able to give equally. So if we look 185 medicine packages, that is, about here. So we'd need to say, we're looking somewhere like right here for this line, which seems to be really important, right? We're talking about being under that line, not under this line. So there's two lines that we've shaded below, but this is the one that's lower. So this country A, can afford to give less than country B. So that line is the y is greater than negative 2/3 x plus 180. Nope, plus 50. It's this one right here. Negative 3 halves x plus 500. So let's plug in 185 and see what that country can afford to give. So if we do y is less than or equal to negative 3 halves, we're going to plug in 185 plus 500. Missing a zero there. So y is less than or equal to, so negative 3 halves times 185. Let's see. I hit one key wrong. Throws everything off. Negative 277.5 plus 500. So y has to stay less than or equal to 222.5. So when we answer the question, what can every country afford to give equally, where it says y is less than or equal to 222.5, that country, which is, sort of the important cutoff at the 185x mark, can afford to give less than or equal to 222.5. So we would probably say, 222 is reasonable. You could pick a number less than that if you didn't want to make it hard on that country. But what do? We could explain how you made your decision. First thing we did was we estimated on the graph. Then we substituted into the inequality that was lowest. And that way, the country that could afford to give the least was the country that we really took into consideration on how much we could afford to ask from them. Another proposal is to get the largest number of medicine packages possible. What is the largest number of medical packages that each country can offer? So let's take a look. Largest, so we want to go on the y-axis medical packages. We want to stay in this shaded region, but go as high as possible. So we want to go right there. That is the highest point. It is two solid lines. So we want to find what is the intersection point of this y is less than or equal to negative 1/4 x plus 300 and x is greater than or equal to 100. So we're going to plug in 100 for x. Y is less than or equal to negative 1/4 times 100 plus 300. So y is less than or equal to negative 25 plus 300. Y has to be less than or equal to 275. Now, if we look, that seems to be about where that dot is on the graph. So 275 for an output for a y seems reasonable if the input x is 100. So we would say 275. How did you find your answer? We substituted x equals 100 into y is less than or equal to negative 1/4 x plus 300, and that gave us the highest point, highest point on country B's inequality. And that's basically how you would go about working this out. I think the graph is really helpful in giving us some boundaries and figuring out where to plug things in. But really, it comes down to substituting into those inequalities that we wrote in order to get some real answers on the output.